Washington said it had broken Iran's military, decimated its missiles, crippled its economy. A classified CIA assessment says something very different. 70% of the missiles, 75% of the launchers, still standing. And Iran's foreign minister had one number for the CIA's estimate: 120%. Tehran isn't broken, it's counting. A classified CIA assessment concluded that Iran remains far more resilient, militarily and economically, than publicly acknowledged by Washington and Israel, despite months of US-led pressure and strikes. According to a report by The Washington Post, citing 4 sources familiar with the classified document, US intelligence believes Tehran still retains roughly 70% of its missile stockpile and about 75% of its missile launchers, contradicting repeated claims that Iran's arsenal had been largely neutralized. But the Post wrote that the CIA's internal assessment paints a far more cautious picture. According to the newspaper, intelligence officials believe Iran could survive a US naval blockade for at least 90 to 120 days before facing severe economic pressure, and possibly even longer. One source familiar with the assessment told the Post,
"For the economic consequences for Iran to become severe, the blockade would have to last at least 90 to 120 days, and possibly longer. One of Iran's solutions to the lack of storage space is filling oil tankers stuck in the Persian Gulf, amid the crisis around the Strait of Hormuz, which had until now been empty."
Another source said Iran had already adapted to mounting pressure in the Persian Gulf. Speaking to the Post, the source said,
"Iran has also reduced the pace of pumping from its oil wells to ensure they continue functioning. It is nowhere near as dire as some have claimed."
The report added that Iran is using oil tankers stranded in the Persian Gulf as temporary floating storage while navigating the Strait of Hormuz crisis. But even an economic collapse would not necessarily lead the regime to compromise in the talks. One US source told the Post that he believes Iran's ability to withstand prolonged economic hardship is far greater than the CIA assessment indicated.
The leadership has become more radical and more confident in its ability to outlast US political will, as well as in its ability to continue domestic repression to thwart any opposition. For comparison, similar regimes can be seen surviving for years under prolonged embargoes and wars based solely on air power.
The CIA assessment also reportedly found that Iran had reopened almost all underground missile storage facilities damaged by US and Israeli strikes. Sources told the Post that Tehran had even resumed assembling missiles that were near completion before the war. One US source cited by the newspaper warned,
"The timeline has shortened for Iran to resume producing ballistic missiles in significant quantities."
Energy analytics firm K-Pila separately told the New York Times this week that Iran may have between 25 and 30 days before it exhausts available oil storage capacity. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi rejected both US military pressure and the CIA estimates.
"Every time a diplomatic solution is on the table, the US opts for a reckless military adventure. Whatever the causes, the outcome is the same. Iranians never bow to pressure."
Araghchi also directly mocked the reported CIA figures.
"The CIA is wrong. Our missile inventory and launcher capacity are not at 75% compared to February 28th. The correct figure is 120%. As for our readiness to defend our people, 1,000%.
As Washington and Tel Aviv project confidence, the reported CIA assessment suggests the confrontation with Tehran may be far from decisive and potentially far longer than anticipated. The ceasefire between the United States and Iran is hanging by a thread, and only just. On May 7th, American forces carried out strikes against Iranian military facilities after claiming 3 US Navy destroyers came under fire while transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian forces had launched missiles, drones, and small boats at the USS Truxtun, USS Rafael Peralta, and USS Mason as they passed through the strait. Every missile was knocked down. Every drone was shot out of the sky.
Rammed them through some pretty big stuff today, and we knocked the hell out of them. The destroyers weren't hurt in any way. The people weren't hurt, but they were firing at us, and we were firing back at them. And our firepower was a hell of a lot stronger than theirs, and they knocked the hell out of them. They took down a lot of small boats. You know, we call them small boats or fast boats. They're both small and they're fast, with some weaponry on the front.
Against what the Americans call unprovoked provocation, US Central Command hit back, targeting Iranian missile and drone launch sites, command centers, and surveillance nodes along the Iranian coast, including sites near Bandar Abbas and Keshem Island. The Pentagon called the Iranian attacks unprovoked.
US Central Command eliminated inbound threats and targeted Iranian military facilities responsible for attacking US forces, including missile and drone launch sites, command and control locations, and intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance nodes. CENTCOM does not seek escalation, but remains positioned and ready to protect American forces.
Iran disagreed. Its armed forces accused Washington of firing first, claiming American strikes hit civilian areas and that the US had targeted an Iranian oil tanker near the strait. Tehran said it responded by attacking US vessels east of the waterway. Somebody, as one analyst put it, is not telling the truth. What is not in dispute is that this is no longer a rare flare-up. General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, confirmed earlier this week that Iran had attacked American forces more than 10 times since the ceasefire began. The strikes come as peace talks continue through Pakistani mediators, with Tehran still reviewing Washington's proposal and offering no formal response. Iran's parliament has called on the US to offer a wish list. At the same time, Trump warned that patience is running out.
They trifled with us today. We blew them away. They trifled. I call that a trifle. I'll let you know when there's no ceasefire. You won't have to know. If there's no ceasefire, you're not going to have to know. You're just going to have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran. And they better sign their agreement fast.
The ceasefire for now holds, although just barely, and with exchanges of fire becoming routine in one of the world's most critical waterways. The question is no longer whether it will break, but when.